Derek Chisora explodes as Simon Jordan. Let's talk about it. Let me give you a perspective. In media, there are personalities, and media personalities are like rappers. What do I mean by that? Well, when you take a rapper, what they are like in the booth is not necessarily a reflection of what they are like in real life. And the key, or the clue, is that they have their rap name and then they'll have their government name. Now, media personalities will often share their government name, or maybe they'll have some type of moniker. But similarly, how a media representative or a media personality presents themselves within their ecosystem is typically not going to be how they present themselves in real life. It's real life. And in the media entertainment world, it's all about entertaining. So you get a reward for being either obnoxious, audacious, or having a controversial opinion. So I think we need to put that out there because I think that's an important premise. So when we talk about Simon Jordan, he's articulate from what I hear. He's proficient in capitalism. I think he made a lot of money, and he's blunt. He is like, they use that term, the good cop, bad cop. So someone's being good and someone's being bad. I guess he's the bad cop. And you'll see that synergy, that chemistry within that infrastructure. And he has interesting takes that often come across derogatory. They come across, or they're pitched and delivered, and they can be taken in a negative way. And if you don't understand the game of entertainment and the game of capitalism and what's going on, you can be triggered. And that's, you could say, the purpose, because triggering people is good TV or good radio. Derek calls Jordan a smuck when they had their interaction, because he would not let Derek dance around the question. And what was that question? That question was, is Derek Chisora fighting Deontay Wilder? I feel like Derek Chisora understands that ecosystem. He himself is in the boxing media. He's been interviewing people, so he has an understanding. He's not wet behind the ears. He's been in the boxing game for a long time. And when he puts, quote unquote, Simon Jordan in his place, it's done in a very banter and in a very friendly way. And to briefly talk about the Deontay Wilder situation, it appears that they are in negotiation, and it appears that those negotiations might be quite strong, and it appears that we're coming closer to the finish line. And apparently, and I thought this was remarkable, Derek Chisora is being seen as a tune-up. A tune-up, that terminology, that language, what does it mean? Because language is important. A tune-up is often seen figuratively as a walk in the park. But in this park, fighting Derek Chisora, you're going to come across snakes, lions, and tigers. This is a huge, huge risk for Wilder. But it could be great matchmaking because it could be a great fight. And I think that this fight can generate interest and generate money and generate cultural impact. And all of those things are important. Again, Deontay Wilder is a power puncher. And Derek Chisora, he walks into the power. He walks into the power because it's part of Derek Chisora's psychology. He has the psychology of a warrior, of a fighter. But let's get back to Simon Jordan. Simon Jordan, I guess, is a straight talker. He states what perhaps should not be said. For example, I remember when he had an interaction with Chris Eubank Jr., who's often quite eloquent. And Chris Eubank Jr., he said something like he'd fought, elite fighters. And then Jordan challenged him and said, what elite fighters have you beaten? And again, it seemed a little bit discourteous, but it was interesting because when you analyze that exchange, Simon Jordan actually alters the question. Chris Eubank Jr. states he fought elite fighters, and Simon Jordan says, which elite fighters did you beat? Fighting elite fighters and beating elite fighters is a different park. It's a different question. Of course, that may have been intentional, or it may have been unintentional. Who knows? Sometimes we can miss the subtle nuances. But again, Jordan he's brave, he's audacious, he's challenging. And I guess in that landscape, in that infrastructure, that media infrastructure that they have over there, Simon Jordan is the bad guy. He's the personality that's needed in that context. If you take Simon Jordan away from that, and I don't want to use the word circus because that has negative connotations, but if you take it away from that machine, that engine, then does that engine prosper? Do people still tune in? He makes the engagement exciting. He's kind of like in hip hop, you have Charlemagne, and he's again another audacious, loquacious type of individual that asks those edgy questions. And he's like the boxing Charlemagne in a sense. The premise of his takes at times can cause contention, and this makes good TV and it makes good radio. There's a few things to remember here. This is capitalism. This is entertainment. Let me say that again. This is capitalism. This is entertainment. It's about attention. It's not about morality. Boxing fans, similar to other fans, football fans, basketball fans, they're opinionated. They have strong opinions. So Simon Jordan, his audacious takes and his bluntness, it causes a reaction. And within the boxing ecosystem of, developing good fights, because you want to develop personalities and you want to develop rivalries and matchups, you could argue that Simon Jordan is essential. And again, their infrastructure is successful. So that's what's needed. Sometimes I'm not sure if the boxing fans understand that. Do they have a comprehension of what's going on? Because respectively, and this is not aimed at boxing fans or anyone in general, but respectively, sometimes people don't understand the context. They react emotionally, but they're not thinking logically. There's a reason, I believe, that Simon Jordan is audacious. There's a reason why he's discourteous. And it's because it's good entertainment. Being courteous is not necessarily good entertainment. Rarely do courteous people excel in entertainment. I guess the only exception I can think of is Chris Eubank and Chris Eubank Jr. But then it's eloquence, dignity, and etiquette mixed with some audacious takes and some flamboyance and, I guess, some disrespect. It's an interesting recipe of things. But this is entertainment. Entertainment is important. Boxing is not just about what happens in the ring. There's so much more to boxing than what happens in the ring. I noticed that with me, and I started to realize this, is that I actually like it when fighters are built up, when you understand their story. And maybe this is just a me thing, but once I have an understanding of someone's story, an understanding of who they are, what their passion is, why they're boxing, what they've been through, then I'm emotionally more involved. Particularly if that person is, say from Britain, you just naturally have an inclination for them to do well. Or maybe you share values with that person and you feel closer to that person. You want that person to win. Often in boxing, we have boxers that we like. We have boxers that we don't like. Take the Floyd Mayweather situation. He projected an image. He intentionally, in my opinion, projected an image that people don't like. So that means people tuned in to see him lose. So again, that's the infrastructure. If you understand that that's the marketing machine, I guess maybe you lose some of it's not as entertaining. So maybe it's good not to have that full awareness. But I guess the point here is that Simon Jordan creates good entertainment. And when you have the right filter, the ambiguity becomes very, very clear.